The rain had just started when Ayesha ran out of her house. Her heart was pounding so loudly that it felt like the whole street could hear it. Behind her, voices echoed through the open gate. Her mother calling her name, her aunt shouting for her to stop, and the sound of hurried footsteps. But Ayesha didn't stop. Tonight was the night her family had planned to introduce her to the man they had chosen for her marriage. Everyone said he was perfect, rich, successful, and respected. Yet to Ayesha, he was nothing more than a stranger whose name had suddenly appeared in her future. She wanted a life she could choose herself. Her breath grew heavier as she ran down the quiet road. The evening sky was dark and the street lights had begun to glow, reflecting off the wet pavement. A car stopped at the corner. Without thinking, Ayesha rushed toward it and opened the back door. She slipped inside quickly and shut it before anyone could see her. "Please drive," she said breathlessly. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then a calm voice spoke from the front seat. "Are you running from someone?" Ayesha froze. Slowly, she looked up and realized something strange. The car interior was elegant and spotless, far nicer than an ordinary taxi. The man in the driver's seat wore a dark suit, and his posture was confident and composed. He turned slightly, and the soft light revealed his face. He looked surprised, but not angry. I'm sorry," Ayesha stammered. "I thought this was a ride service car." The man studied her for a moment. "You jumped into a stranger's car without checking." Ayesha felt her cheeks grow warm. "I didn't have time to think." Outside, distant voices echoed again. Her family had reached the street. The man noticed her anxious glance toward the window. "Someone is looking for you," he said quietly. "Yes. Should I stop the car?" Ayesha quickly shook her head. "Please don't." There was something sincere in her voice, something desperate but honest. The man considered her words, then gently started the engine. The car moved forward, leaving the street behind. Ayesha let out a long breath of relief. "Thank you," she whispered. The man drove silently for a few minutes. The city lights passed by in golden reflections across the rain-covered road. Finally, he spoke again. "Where should I take you?" Ayesha hesitated. That was the problem. She had run away without a destination. "I don't know yet." The man raised an eyebrow but didn't press her further. After a short pause, he said, "You must have had a serious reason to run like that." Ayesha stared at the raindrops sliding down the window. "My family arranged a marriage for me," she said softly. "Tonight I was supposed to meet the man. And you didn't want to." "No." The man nodded slowly. "That explains the dramatic entrance." A small laugh escaped Ayesha before she could stop herself. The tension in the car eased slightly. "May I ask your name?" the man said. "Ayesha." "I'm Daniel." Ayesha repeated the name quietly. "Daniel." Something about him seemed calm and trustworthy, though she had just met him minutes ago. Daniel drove toward a quiet cafe that was still open despite the rain. "We should talk somewhere warm," he said. "You look exhausted." Ayesha hesitated again, but she realized she didn't have many options. So she agreed. The cafe was peaceful and nearly empty. Soft music played in the background while rain tapped gently against the windows. Daniel ordered tea for both of them. Ayesha wrapped her hands around the warm cup, finally feeling her racing heart slow down. "Thank you for helping me," she said. "You're welcome." Daniel leaned back in his chair, studying her thoughtfully. "Tell me something, Ayesha," he said. "Did you ever meet the man your family chose?" "No. Not even once." "No." Daniel seemed amused by that answer. "So you ran away without even seeing him?" "Yes." Ayesha sighed. "Maybe that sounds foolish." Daniel shook his head. "Not foolish. Just honest." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Daniel asked another question. "What kind of life do you want instead?" Ayesha blinked in surprise. No one had asked her that before. "I want to make my own decisions," she said slowly. "I want to work, travel, and build something meaningful." Daniel smiled slightly. "That's a good dream." "And what about you?" she asked. "I work too much." Ayesha laughed. "That doesn't sound like a dream." "It isn't." Daniel stirred his teeth thoughtfully. "I run a company. Most of my time is spent in meetings and planning projects." Ayesha's eyes widened. "You're a CEO?" "Yes." She looked embarrassed again. "I jumped into a CEO's car." Daniel chuckled. "It's not the strangest thing that has happened today." They continued talking for nearly an hour. The conversation flowed easily about careers, ambitions, and the pressure families sometimes place on their children. Ayesha began to feel comfortable around him. Daniel listened carefully to everything she said, never interrupting. Finally, Daniel checked his watch. "There's something I should tell you," he said. Ayesha noticed his expression had grown serious. "What is it?" Daniel took a slow breath. "Earlier tonight, I was on my way to meet someone." "Oh, yes. My parents arranged a meeting for me." Ayesha blinked. "That sounds familiar." Daniel nodded. "It does." A strange feeling suddenly formed in Ayesha's chest. "What was her name?" she asked cautiously. Daniel looked directly at her. "Ayesha." The room felt very quiet. For several seconds, Ayesha could only stare at him. "You're joking," she said weakly. "I wish I were." Ayesha covered her face with her hands. "I ran away from my arranged marriage and ended up escaping with the man I was supposed to meet." Daniel couldn't help laughing softly. The universe has an interesting sense of humor. Ayesha slowly lowered her hands. "So, you're the CEO my family wanted me to marry?" "Yes. And I just told you I didn't want the marriage." "Yes." Embarrassment flooded her face. "I'm so sorry." Daniel shook his head calmly. "There's nothing to apologize for." "But you were honest," he said. "I respect that." Ayesha looked relieved. "So you're not angry?" "Not at all." Daniel smiled slightly. "Actually, I'm glad we met this way." Ayesha tilted her head. "Why?" "Because this is the first real conversation I've had with someone who didn't know who I was." She thought about that. It made sense. For the first time that evening, both of them felt the strange situation turn into something unexpectedly pleasant. Over the next few days, Ayesha and Daniel continued talking. Not because of family pressure, but because they genuinely enjoyed each other's company. They met in quiet cafes, walked through parks, and discussed their dreams for the future. Daniel admired Ayesha's determination to build her own life. Ayesha admired Daniel's kindness and humility despite his success. Slowly, something new began to grow between them. Not an obligation, but a connection. One evening, they stood on a rooftop overlooking the glowing city. "You know," Ayesha said thoughtfully, "if I hadn't jumped into your car that night, we might have met in a completely different way." Daniel nodded. "And we probably would have spent the entire meeting being polite strangers." "Exactly." They both laughed. A gentle breeze moved through the air as the city lights shimmered below. "Ayesha," Daniel said quietly, "what do you think about the future now?" She looked at him carefully. "Now I think, sometimes unexpected moments lead us exactly where we need to be." Daniel smiled. "That sounds like the beginning of a good story." Ayesha smiled back. "Yes," she said softly. "It does."